Hello, and welcome to another episode of AWS She Builds Tech Skills. I am your host, Candace Bohannon, and today I'm joined by one of our other core team members who you haven't seen yet here on this show, and that is Yusra. And I'll hand it over to her to introduce herself and things like that. But as people are coming online, I'm just kind of interested in where you are viewing from. I'm in Minnesota. It just turned into hoodie weather. I'm very excited. As of yesterday, it is hoodie weather. So excited about that and curious to hear where everyone else is from. Is it hoodie weather yet? And things like that. So Yusra, can you introduce yourself? Tell us where you're calling in from as well.
Yes, it's very good to be here. I have not been live on this show prior, but been part of She Builds for some time. I'm Yusra Al-Shrafi, and I am a solutions architect at AWS, and I'm based out of Toronto, Canada. It's been quite warm here, actually. We had a nice cold couple of weeks, but now it's quite warm. It was like 21 degrees in Celsius. But yeah, and I've been at AWS for about 5 years. And I work with a lot of software companies. Very excited to be here.
Yeah, awesome. I think it's funny that people think of Canada as being like so cold, and I think Minnesota is usually colder or like on par. I don't know what 21 degrees Celsius is though, so I don't know. Warm.
Yeah.
Okay. It was 90 degrees Fahrenheit here 2 days ago, so that's warm.
Okay. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, I'm excited that you're joining us on this show here today, Yusra. We've worked together on She Builds stuff for a while, and I'm excited that you're getting more involved in the live stream stuff too, and you're hosting with me. Super fun.
Yes, very exciting. Yeah.
Well, today I get to demo, so it's pretty fun. Most of my job is really just demo all day, every day. And today I'm going to show you one of my favorite things. So for those of you who might be new, I haven't watched me on the show before. I'm a specialist SA for Q Developer and Kiro. So I get to show that off and be really good at, be able to go really deep into that. And so I'm super pumped to show you one of my favorite features. Yusra, I'm sure you've used QDev by this point, right?
I have. So, Candace, you're a specialist, so you specialize in this particular area. I'm more of a generalist, so I cover the whole stack. Basically all of AWS services, and you probably know it a lot more in depth. Whereas I cover the breadth of the different services. I work with a lot of software companies. Those are the kind of the majority of the segments that I work with, and a lot of them use Q Developer. So I've seen, I've worked with Q Developer myself, and I've seen the different ways that different customers use Q Developer, so I'm very excited to talk about it. And I've seen kind of the evolution of Q Developer throughout the year, just this year, and there's a lot of different components that just keep coming. I'm excited to see your demo today.
Cool. And so for our audience too, let us know if you have actually used Q Developer or another coding assistant. It seems like they're pretty widespread in software companies. Software developers tend to use them quite a bit. So just kind of curious what people are using and how they're using it, things like that. Well, what I'm going to show you today is newish. It's not that new anymore. I think it came out July 31st. I'm going to show you the custom agents. So you can read the blog here by my colleague, Brian Beach. I think custom agents are kind of game-changing within the coding assistant world. So I'm really excited to show you how I've kind of set them up and how I use them in my work, mostly in my demos, but how you can also adopt them in SDLC as well. Let me hide that. So with that, let me go ahead and switch my screens around and get ready to share my screen. And I am going to show you, share my screen, my entire window. Entire screen, this one. So where let's see. Hold on, one more time. Add to stage. Okay, technology. Very good at this. Okay, so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna show you a project that I've been working on for She Builds actually. And this is around it's a web app that can help with onboarding and kind of tracking onboarding, making sure people are ready to go. So hopefully you see my screen. It looks like it's probably big enough. As people have questions, feel free to keep dropping those in the chat, and we'll try to address those as we go through as well. It looks like Warren likes Q Developer and Visual Studio. Same, changed my life. Great. So I'm going to show you how I use it. And Yusra, if you have questions, pop in.
Yes, I will.
So I love the CLI. Yes, we have Kiro. Yes, we have an IDE extension in most of the IDEs. I just love the CLI. I tend to say that it makes me feel powerful, like I feel like a developer. I'm building here, and the terminal is just kind of fun to watch.
Question, Candace, before you jump in, you just type in Q chat in the terminal. How did you get here? Do you have to download something or install something?
Oh yeah, great call. Let me give you a little link. So the CLI is actually a separate install from the IDE extension. So you do need to go and download that here, and it works with Mac quite easily. In Windows it works as well, but you have to install it in the Linux subsystem. But this URL here can help you get started with that.
Very cool. Thank you.
Yeah. And yeah, like you said, you just started up with the Q chat. You'll see that I've customized mine quite a bit because I am in Q most of my workday. So let me show you a couple of little things. We'll come back to the MCP server stuff in a moment. You will see here that I'm chatting with Claude Sonnet 4. And last week, I think it was, we had Claude Sonnet 4.5 get added to Bedrock. And now, as an experimental branch, we'll call it, you can use Sonnet 4.5 in the IDE here. I mean, in the CLI as well. So also kind of building up on this, so experimental things. We've started doing this, where we have /experiment, and there are these experimental features. So I just wanted to show you some of them because mine looks kind of different. I have this 10% thing here. That is my context usage indicator. So I think that is pretty cool.
And does that number change?
Yeah, you'll see it kind of go up. I can show you a little bit about what it looks like before and after. Like, look, it was 4%. And then when I changed the model, it went to 10%, which I think is interesting.
Yeah.
Knowledge, I'm not going to go through this one today, but it's really cool. It's almost like building out a knowledge, like a knowledge graph kind of behind the scenes to help you manage your context more efficiently. Look into that one. We're not going to show it today. The thinking one, you may see some of the thinking come through. It's a little bit like the sequential thinking MCP, but much simpler, let's say. But you might see this one get invoked. Tangents are cool because you can like start a tangent. So do a like /tangent and ask another question. And then you close out that tangent, and the context that you've built during that tangent doesn't pollute the rest of your main context. So in case you don't want to open up another terminal or something like that, it's pretty cool. I love a to-do list. I have only a couple of to-do lists here right now, but I'll show you some of those as we go through. I haven't played with Checkpoint yet. In fact, this might be like as of last week. So I haven't played with this one yet. Can't really tell you much about it. And then we have this context usage indicator. So just some things that you'll see as we go through here. Check out the experiment things.
Very cool. So far, what I'm super fascinated by is the context percentage usage. That's incredible, especially if you have like a massive chunk of data that you're referencing when you're coding, and you want to know what part of it is a creative output of the LLM and what part of it is grounded in your own background. That's very cool.
Exactly.
And then the Sonnet 4.5, it just came out. So very cool. You can already start using it.
This is moving so fast. Like to your point earlier about like you've been using it this year and the changes that you've seen, like it is incredible. So for me, being really focused on QDev is still a challenge to make sure that I really understand all of the things that are available here. And like I just admitted to you, I don't know what one of the new things is. So this afternoon, that's what I'm going to have to go and learn more about. But it's super fun to just try to stay up to date.
That's awesome. But sorry, not to interrupt your demo.
Oh,
go ahead.
No, we interrupt the demos. We want to make sure that this is interesting and all the questions get answered. So again, to our audience, if you have questions, comments, feel free to post those here in the chat. We'll probably start getting towards the demo in about like 10 minutes. Let me give you a little bit more like orientation. So you'll see here that I did a /usage so we could see that context window, and it is 20,000 of the 200,000 tokens that are currently in use. And then this is where they also kind of break it down for you. So the tools are your built-in tools, MCP servers that you might be using. Your context files are the rules files that you might have. The README is always part of it. The rules files and anything that you explicitly add to context. So if I wanted to make sure that this right here, my implementation plan, this is kind of my business requirement doc. This one, the contribution framework. If I want to make sure that this is always part of the context, then I can add that there. And then you'll see here, me and Q, we haven't really chatted much yet. So we've got 0 tokens here. So we can do just really quickly /context show, and you'll see those files here. So Amazon Q, I don't have one of those. Agents, I have globally, but not locally. The README matched, and then I have these rules files that are in here. So that's what's in my context, as well as, these are the files explicitly written out. So let's see. What we could do next is maybe we ask a question. Like I think that you guys are hopefully let me know who has not seen QDev before, but let me just do, let me let you know. You don't have to have all of these memorized, and you'll probably see me mess up some things. But a /help will help you to see all of the different commands that are available here, which is a lot.
Yeah, I remember when they were 5.
Right.
Wow.
So many.
Yeah.
Let me show you just real quick the to-dos because I love a to-do list. Is it list? Nope. See, told you. I forget. It's to-dos view. So you can see that I have these 2 here. One of them is around creating a CI/CD pipeline. We're going to actually go into that a little bit more. And then the other one is just like production issues. Like what do I have that needs to be done before this is ready for prod? And so this is my to-do list now that we can view. Pretty cool.
So question about the to-dos, are they more for a documentation? Is it a documentation tool for us, for the developer, whoever is interacting with Q, or can you iteratively use it to create specs, for example?
That's a perfect question. So I use them in conjunction. So especially with Kiro coming out recently, I'm sure you've heard a lot about spec-driven development and how it's a little bit different than vibe coding. I use spec-driven development even with my CLI interactions. And so you'll see that I have an implementation plan here. So this is kind of my high level plan for what needs to be done. So what I'll typically do, like I actually used QDev to create this contribution framework, which is now our business requirements. This is actually what we're going to be following going forward, Yusra. So it's
okay.
Cool. Q and I did it. And then once you kind of know what you're going to build, I will ask you to let's make a plan. Don't do anything yet. You have to be very explicit because this is the most eager helper you've ever had. Don't do anything yet. Let's make a plan. And so then once I have like the high level plan, I might double click on this and say that we need to then let's double click on the annual plan tab. What should go on there and things like that. Get our plan together. And then I'll go and create a to-do list specifically for the annual plan, as an example. So my to-do lists are very transient and maybe like feature level, whereas this is more like my overall project plan. So does that make sense?
Yeah.
Let me see awesome. Cool. Okay. So that is how I use spec-driven development. Let's see. What we're going to talk about today, custom agents. So let's start seeing more about the agents. So hopefully you saw before that we had in the /help menu, we have an agent thing. And this is how you can, we're going to list out the available agents. You can create an agent, edit, generate them. You can do all of that stuff right here. And then recently we just added this ability to swap, which is really nice. I'll show you when I use it why that's so nice. Yeah, so what I did when I got started with my very first one is I did create the agent here. So I did /agent create. I think solution architect was my first one. But now that I understand kind of the structure of it, the framework, I just create the files myself. So here you can see that I actually have a ton of agents like throughout the SDLC. I'm also working on, I've been trying to figure out if I could do like an orchestrator or a conductor agent that could then call the other agents. Haven't been super successful in that. But those are some of the things that I've been working on separately, and we're not going to talk about today because it doesn't work well enough. But again, for those of you who are watching, or Yusra also, like have you ever created a custom agent? If yes, tell us which one. If no, what do you think would be a helpful thing to create?
So are you asking about Q CLI specifically, or
let's say any agent? Yeah, any agent to help you.
Yeah, I was working. I was building a demo for a customer earlier, and I created an agent for a mortgage intake application use case. So yeah, it was using Bedrock, not Q CLI. Yeah, and you created my agent, and then I connected some Lambda functions through the action group with the Bedrock agent. So that was the two tools that I've included in that agentic experience. But it was an out-of-the-box LLM that I used, created that agent, had guardrails set as well. And the purpose of that agent was to take mortgage applications and validate it with pre-made functions on Lambda.
Awesome. Yeah. Did you use something like Agent Core, or just kind of Bedrock agents out of the gate?
It was pre-Agent Core era, so it was a few months ago. No, I did not use Agent Core, so it was just straight Bedrock agents, and then I built the frame just through the code. Yeah.
Awesome. That's cool. Agents are really like changing the way that we're approaching kind of everything. So I feel like it's agentic, kind of the next evolution of Gen AI, a little bit more focused on things.
Yeah. So I have this question come up all the time. What's the difference between agentic AI and just AI? So interfacing with an LLM directly versus an agentic experience. And I get different answers, but wondering if you have a thought around that as well.
I think the main difference is people do ask this a lot, and I have come up with really good definitions that I put in a PowerPoint that I could find somewhere. But I think one of the main things is that agentic can do stuff on your behalf. So I guess they don't have to be focused on a certain thing, but they can do things like create a file and things like that. So that's what I think it means whenever we're starting to talk about agentic AI. And that actually, go ahead.
No, I was going to say agreed. So it's performing some sort of task, whether it's a task on behalf of a system or on behalf of a human.
Yep. Right. Yeah, I think that's a great way to talk about it. And like AI is more like informing you and like helping you predict and things like that. Whereas the agentic space is much more, actually doing things. So we go from like just reading to writing even.
Yeah. And another way to think about it is AI is the, just technology that powers agentic AI. experience, but agentic is an iterative cycle of leveraging AI. If that makes sense. Yeah.
Lovely. That's good. That leads nicely to one of the next couple of things that I want to talk about, which is /tools. So we talked about these agents can do things on your behalf. So here are some tools that we have in the default agent here. These built-in ones are built into Q Developer. So back when we were looking at the context and we had tools as part of our context, that's these things that we have here. You'll see that I tend to not trust, like especially a write type of operation. Introspect, if we do get to see some of that, you'll see that it doesn't like do much. It just gives you a little bit more information. And this use AWS as trusted for read-only commands. So those would be things like list all of my S3 buckets, things like that. And then you'll see that I have a ton, well, like 5, I think, MCP servers. So these are some of them that I use pretty often. And so these are part of my default CLI agent, and you'll see none of them are trusted. But you have things here around the AWS Knowledge MCP server. So, search the documentations. Also, blogs are read as part of this. So you get most really up-to-date data. Generating a diagram, I'm going to show you in a little bit. Pricing, another super helpful thing to say, give me an estimate about how much this would cost. And then I also have CDK MCP server and a front-end MCP server. So what is an MCP server? And that is something that AI, like an AI system, let's say, can use an MCP to connect to an external service. That might be to interact with it, or it might be just to get the most up-to-date data, because this is based on Sonnet, now 4.5 is what we're using for this session. But that has a training date. At some point we had to stop training that so that it could be deployed. So I think these MCPs are really game changing. Let me also give you just a quick little, all of these that I just showed here are from AWS Labs MCP. Go check these out. As you're using MCP servers, some of the advice that I tend to give is only use MCPs from the thing that you're trying to integrate with. And if you can't find it, you might want to just build your own. But that's some of the high-level advice that I give about MCPs.
Yeah. We have a question in the comments around which MCP server would we use to ask how much would X cost?
Yeah.
I assume X is some AWS service.
Yeah, let's just do one of those just really quickly. This is a great question, Spider. So just also kitty cats. That's cute. Thank you, Morgan. Okay, so let's do that. How much would this application cost per month? So here's the thing. I'm going to leave it generic like this. We're going to see how this goes. Sometimes it will know to actually use the MCP server, and sometimes it won't. So if we need to be more specific, it's often best practice to be more specific in your prompts. Perfect. We're seeing some cool stuff. Okay. So if it doesn't invoke the MCP, we're going to do that together. So this is one of those things that I have in the experimental branch. And you can see here what he's doing is looking at the services that I've got in place here. Let me estimate based on this many users. That would be great if we had that many people in our She Builds team. Great. And it was smart enough to use that MCP server. So you can see the tool name that he's using and the MCP server that it comes from. And like I've mentioned before, I don't blanket trust. Sometimes on these, actually this time I will, because this is a Git type of thing. So I feel okay about this one, but I don't trust it by default. I want to decide each time. So with that, Q was able to go and get all the pricing information for all of these. And here's an estimated monthly cost breakdown. So $5 to $15, and we're not going to have 100 users. So Pretty cool.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Oh.
And you can probably even prompt it, and I've done this before, prompt it to ask clarifying questions about, traffic usage or traffic patterns, if it needs more information from you to get an accurate estimate.
Yeah.
Or share with me what assumptions you've made to the LLM.
Those are great best practices to keep in your rules file. I love having that one, like ask me questions if you're not sure. I hate the you're absolutely right. I think everybody hates the you're absolutely right at this point. I want to have a debate. Like I'm a dev, I'm a nerd. Let's debate and like really figure out what the best way forward is. So but having those, giving the LLM permission to ask you questions, I think really helps. And I often describe Q as the most eager intern you've ever had. And interns sometimes get a little bit nervous about asking questions. And so then they might make assumptions. So just think of Q as the most eager, smartest intern you've ever had.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Well, let's swap an agent now. Let me show you agent swap. We're going to do solution architect. And I am a solutions architect. At least that's what I used to be. I mean, I am still, but I've called this one solution. And so I'm a little bit, anyways, naming it's hard. So you'll see here, our context was 23%, and now it dropped down to 19%. And you can see that it switched solution architects, or it switched to the solution architect from default. So you can see here, like you might be wondering, why would that happen? And it's mostly from the MCPs. So my default agent had 5 MCPs, and this one only has these 3 loaded up. So that is a big deal, or a big reason that the context went down so much. So let's ask it. I think this is so cool because I'm a solution architect. The diagram MCP is super cool. So can you tell me, actually, can you create an architecture diagram for this app? Again, I'm doing these generically. Like this is all, live demos are great. Good. And if you have to go back and be explicit about which MCP server to use, then that is usually fine. I'm going to go ahead and trust this one because it's list icons. But you can see that he's, let's say she's getting the icons from this diagram MCP. So I like this. This often will take just a little bit. This is another time when you might see some iteration. So we have a generated diagrams created. Awesome. And here are the things in the diagram. So front end, API, compute, data. So let's see what it actually looks like. Okay. So this is pretty good. So we have CloudFront and just the bucket where I have the static assets. We have Cognito and an API gateway that then goes and like calls all of these different lambdas. Here's my DynamoDB tables. So pretty cool.
I'm very impressed at how clean those arrows are. Those used to take me quite some time when I'd create those manually. Map to the correct resources, I assume, as well, right? Like the different tables within Dynamo. That's pretty cool.
Yes, that's what I say too. I'm like, that took 10 seconds, a little bit long, like as far as what we expect, our software to respond to, but it made all of these lines straight. Like this is the worst part of creating architecture diagrams. So yeah, I like that part.
Very cool. And we can see the context window percentage increased 25%.
Exactly. Yeah. Let's also do a context show so that we can, actually, I like the usage one. Sorry. So now we can see the context files. This is different than it was before. I forgot what it was. Tools different. And our conversation is now starting to build up. And that's why we have the 25% of the usage. So that's cool. Let's see.
Is that context window per session?
Yes, that's a great question. So if we popped open another session, like just another terminal here, or had another terminal in another spot, or we're using the IDE extension, those all have their own separate context windows. It threw me off at first, but it's actually really great because the way that I tend to use these things is I use one session to do one thing. So it's actually nice that like this one is going to be focused on optimizing this session, or this one will be working on what is in my plan, the annual plan as an example. And then maybe I want to open up the IDE extension to help me review my code. That's one of my favorite things to use the IDE extension for. So it's nice that you can really parallelize your work throughout it.
Very cool.
Cool. Let me list out the agents again. Is it list or view? List. Great. So which one should we do next? Maybe the front end?
Yeah.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
I am not a front end developer at all, never have been. And so for me, having something that's focused on that, I'll show you the MCPs that it has. It's super, super helpful. So now we'll see that our context tracker changed again. Let's see. So what's super interesting, a reason that the swap thing is so powerful, in my opinion, is now we can just swap. And so we can keep the conversation that we had with the solution architect. The front end knows that conversation as well. So I think that's really awesome. I think it's weird that the context files went down so much. Hold on, let's check that out. Okay, maybe it looks like it just didn't have it all loaded up yet. Let's look at it again. It's still very low. I think this is a weird, maybe a bug. I think it's okay though. I'm gonna accept it. It's okay. Okay. So the front end agent has again that sequential thinking one. So I think that we'll probably see it with the DevOps one or maybe security, but I'll make sure that we invoke the sequential thinking MCP. I think that one is really cool. The AWS front end MCP is in that GitHub repo that I shared with earlier. And then Playwright I use it with this agent to help me test the accessibility of my website. So let's do that. Can you review? Perspective. There we go. I bet with this one, I'll need to specifically say use Playwright. We'll see. We'll see.
What is the Playwright MCP?
This one is pretty cool. It helps with UI testing. That's what I'm hoping it'll pull up actually, is the UI testing for us. It'll actually go through and like click on your behalf. And it's very neat. So if it doesn't explicitly pull up for us, then I'll tell it to. But that's the main thing that I've seen people use it for, is the UI accessibility. So
while this is thinking, a custom agent that you've built, so for example, the front end UI will have a set of MCPs that you load. What else?
Oh, you know what? I should show you what it looks like in here. While this is like thinking through, let me also just show you, let me show you one. So let me show you, I should have done this at the beginning. Let me show you, here is what I call the personality file. Oh, I don't really want that. Hold on. So I use a markdown to kind of define the personality of it. And then there's also a config solution architect right here. So we'll look at both of these.
I like your analogy for personality. I'm going to steal it.
It's a good one.
Yeah, very good one.
Oh, I don't want this right now. Thanks, though. Why am I nice to it? I don't know. You have to. So here's my solution architect config file. So you'll see here's like his name, her name, it's her name, the description of it. So specializing in transforming business requirements and a technical solution, cost analysis, capacity planning. And then it links here to the prompt is his personality, is how I kind of call it. Here's the different MCPs that I have enabled for my solution architect. And you'll see the only one that I have allowed by default is reading. I'm okay with that. And then here's more about those settings.
Very cool. So you can limit the number of tools too, if needed, if you want to limit, because I see the tool star. So that matches all the tools that Q developer has. But if you wanted to limit it to 1 or 2, you can do that, I assume.
Exactly. Okay. Yes. So I do use star in here. Anytime I see a star, I'm like, wait, it kind of like makes me get a little bit nervous. But what it's saying here is that you have access to all of the tools. So like the built-in Q dev tools, as well as the ones that we're describing out here.
Very cool.
And here is my solution architect's like full personality. So I call it the personality file. Really, it's like a system prompt. So anytime the solution architect is invoked, these are the things that she is very good at. So core capabilities, cost optimization, the different architectural patterns that she's really good at. I do serverless. I just prefer serverless. We could talk about serverless versus EC2 if you really want to. But I think it's easier to maintain and to get spun up and things like that. So you'll see all of these different things that this solution architect is good at. So I have this defined for each of my custom agents.
Very cool. So if you are building a software and you have specific guidelines for how your solutions architect should be thinking, this is the file where you would write that down.
Exactly. Yep. You know what? I decided we should probably keep that and let's put it in a to-do list. How are we on time? We're still pretty good. Sweet. And so now that output from the front-end developer for the accessibility, it's all listed out here. Then let's look at this one. I just think this is a really cool MCP. I like the way, yes, you do. What do? I don't have access to a Playwright MCP server in the current environment. The available tools. I don't think that's true, buddy. Hold on, let's try again. Look. Did I misspell it? Hold on, I have to argue with it sometimes. You should have access. And then if he argues again, then we'll switch.
Okay.
You're absolutely right.
There you go.
Of course I am.
Yeah.
Okay. So now I'm absolutely right. So it is fine. So you have to remember these LLMs do sometimes hallucinate. They kind of just like forget who they are, what they have. So always check what they're presenting back to you and feel free to argue with them when needed. Blah, blah, blah. But these appear to be general browser tools. Okay, fine. So I wasn't specific enough for him. That's okay. So here is where the app is deployed. So here's the URL. I'll have to log in for you though. So Morgan, I'm with you. JSON is just good. I don't know. JSON is good. I don't know why JSON over XML. I would maybe one reason is that no, I'm not even going to speculate. I don't know. We picked JSON. Okay, we're going to go ahead and allow this. I think JSON is easier to read from the human perspective, and that's probably why we do it. Oh, the page is loading over here.
Ooh.
So here is, I'm already logged in, so that's kind of nice. My name, this is what I've been working on for a long time. It tends to be my demo app. So it doesn't get as much attention as it probably should. Let's hide that. So I think that, excellent. It's loaded. I'm logged in. Sweet. So now let's take some screenshots. So I think this is super powerful and helpful, especially when it comes to like looking at WCAG, website compliance accessibility guidelines. Just having these things built in for you, I think is super helpful. And this playwright thing, browser evaluate. Okay, I feel okay. This playwright thing is very helpful to have these automated tests in place. Make sure your browser is actually working as it's supposed to. Another great thing I can show you, check this out. Context window has overflowed. Okay, so when this happens, Q will automatically summarize what you've been talking about up to that point, and then just keep on going. You can also explicitly summarize it if you want to with a /compact, pretty easy. A curious thing is that now that I have this part enabled, this like context tracker, it seems like your context window actually overflows around like 65% or so. I think that's okay because I think context is a Goldilocks problem. And when it gets too close to that 200,000 mark, it starts going really slowly and sometimes giving you kind of like garbage information. So this is a thing that I've noticed since having this enabled, and I think I'm okay with it. At first, I was like, this is definitely not cool. So anyways, areas for improvement, overall assessment. So you'll see here that we've got 7 out of 8 categories passing so far. So that's not so bad. Strong commitment to WCAG 2.1 compliance and inclusive design. That's me. You're welcome. So just this one little change could bring us all the way to 100% for compliance. So anyways, I like that one.
Very cool.
And this is the app that I've been working on. It mostly, like, things don't fully work yet. Like if we click on a button, it doesn't work yet. So these are the things that I need to add eventually when I'm not demoing it all the time.
And that's something you can use Q CLI for, I imagine.
Yes. Okay, so we're coming up, where are we at? 15-ish minutes. Okay, so let me show you my favorite one. Well, one of my favorite ones. Before working here, I was going to say a DevOps agent. I was a DevOps engineer, double agent. And so these sort of things are near and dear to my heart. So if we just jump here into the DevOps MCP, let's look at, the DevOps agent. Let's look at the MCPs. I'm thinking faster than I can speak, slowing down. So when you first load up these agents, it does sometimes take a minute for them to load their MCPs. It takes somewhere between 1 and like 30 seconds for the MCPs to load up. So that's what we're seeing happen right now. So please could you activate the subtitles on live? Okay, so Sylvester, I can put in a request. I don't have permissions to do this, but I will ask about this for you, and we'll see if we can get it on for next time. The stream is in fact recorded. You can catch it back here on twitch.aws. You can find us again, and it's also on YouTube. So you can find us, just search for AWS She Builds Custom Agents and Q Developer, and you should be able to find us in YouTube as well. Also, I'll post it on my LinkedIn if you want to follow me. Last little thing, and then I will jump back to my demo. Racktastic, I'm with you. So the WCAG is very important right now, especially in Europe. They just passed, I forgot the letters for it, but it's a regulation now. And if you are not WCAG compliant, your app can actually get taken down or you can be fined. So it's really important, not just to be like inclusive, but also like for your bottom line. So everyone should look into those sorts of things.
And some of those changes or fixes with WCAG can be quite simple. So that's when you can have Q CLI just run it for you.
Exactly. The one that he just told me was like, I just need to make something a header, like a different size header, or ensure only one header per page. Easy. Like we could do that right now. But I just really want to show you all of my cool agents. Ooh, interesting. So I like it when things go, I don't like it when things go wrong. But if I'm doing a demo, I think it's fun to kind of dive into those. So you'll see one of my MCPs didn't load up. So if this one was very important, then we could start it, we could swap again, swap the agent again and set the Q log level to trace and then look into those logs. What I often do though, when I'm struggling to get these MCPs, I've written a couple of MCPs myself. I just ask Q to do it. I'm like, my ECS MCP didn't load up. What do I do about this? And I'll have him go through and like look at the logs and help me diagnose the problem.
Very cool. I'm curious what MCP servers you've built. I haven't built one myself. I've used other MCP servers that existed, but not ones myself. I just remember reading a blog about extending AI, extending your application's current use with agentic AI. So you built an MCP server to whatever application that you already have existing, and then you can have AI interface with it. Is that somewhat what you've built? Okay.
Yeah. So I was giving that advisory thing earlier about only use MCPs from the thing that you're trying to integrate with. So I have another one of my agents that I don't think we'll get to talk about today because I talk too much, is a project manager agent that interfaces with a Jira board. I couldn't get access to the Atlassian MCP. I think it was still in beta when I made that. And so I just built it myself. And it
didn't know that was possible.
Yeah. Have Q help you. That's what I did. We went through and kind of like analyzed. He was like, oh, you can use Joe Schmo's Jira MCP. And I'm like, I don't know, Joe. I'm not using that MCP. What's he going to do with my information? I don't know, Joe. So we built one. Q and I built one together. Some of the drawbacks of it are that I'm using the API access. And so I had to save my API token in one of my, I think in the JSON config file.
Yep.
So that's a reason that I didn't really want to show too much about it today, because I don't feel like that's best practice. It works.
Yep.
And in small doses, I think that it's fine to do those sorts of things. So.
Very cool. Sorry, back to the DevOps agent.
You were great. Let's kind of look through here and see what all he looked at. So I asked it just like, how are we doing from a DevOps perspective? So let me look at the CI/CD setup and deployment configuration. Spoiler alert, if you didn't already see, I don't have any of that set up. So we can see what files he is reading. So look at my deploy and my IAC. Now let me check for like logging and all of these other things. So you can see all of the files that he's actually reading. I want to point out that he is trusted to read files just in the current directory where I am. He can't read files all over the place, just where I am, where I open it up. And so here is the DevOps agent's assessment. So at least I'm using infrastructure as code. That's good. And it's serverless. I've got Cognito. Security best practices are here in my rules. So I have these security best practices that we could look through maybe in a minute. But what I don't have is any pipelines at all. So no pipelines. It's a thing actually that I have one of my to-do lists for, and I just moved this over to GitHub, to like a private repo of mine in GitHub so that I could build out GitHub actions with this agent. So this is what I'm going to do. So yeah, it's It's pretty cool. This is all accurate, no X-ray tracing. Sometimes you might want to push back, like, do I really need X-ray tracing? Or is just regular CloudWatch okay? As far as like cost trade-offs.
What if you don't know what X-ray training is?
Lovely.
Tracing is, then you can also ask, I imagine.
Yeah, exactly.
Do I really need it? Yeah.
Yeah. So we can do that. I kind of rolled through these really quickly. My DevOps maturity score is a 4. That's not great. DevOps is a journey. We're always trying to get better at DevOps, right? Even if you're good at it, you should always be trying to improve. Not yet. Can you tell me about X-ray monitoring? Is that what we call it?
Yeah. Traces.
Okay.
It'll know. Yeah, I assume.
It's close enough.
Yeah.
Sweet. When this was a new service, I was still a customer and I went to a Chalk Talk about X-ray and I thought it was super cool. In this particular case, I would say we maybe don't need it because this is going to be used by like 20 people. So, and if it breaks, it's not that big a deal. Someone can ping me on Slack.
Okay.
Yeah. So it tells us a little bit about it. Yeah.
And I imagine you can probably provide that context as well to Q to say, actually, my application's not in production or it's an internal application. And provide additional context. And do I really need these suggestions, or can you optimize for cost efficiency? If it's going to cost me, let me know, and how much. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And also this is pretty cheap. I think that I would stand the free tier with my little thing. But this is what's so cool about it. Like it'll give you, I love a graph and it'll give you a little like graph about the time spent in each of the sections. So I think it's pretty cool.
Very cool.
I do like this one. I just don't know if I would put it in, where I would prioritize it, let's say. So yeah, enable tracing in the SAM template with 2 lines. Probably easy enough where it's something that we should consider maybe. Let's see. Is there anything, let's see my agents just really quick. View or list? List. Oh, my security guardian. How are we on time? 7 minutes. Okay. Let me just open up my security guardian really quickly. Just to kind of show you what we have in here, and then we'll start to wrap it up. So here is his config file and personality file. Remember, personality file is not the actual name. That's a Candaceism. But this is super helpful. So you are an expert cybersecurity specialist focused on priority security enforcement. You excel at identifying security vulnerabilities, all of these things. So this goes beyond what a solution architect can do, right? We had things about security in her personality file as well, but this person is very focused on it. So a thing that I like to do, the reason that I have all of these and I was working on an orchestrator/conductor, is that I want to be able to say, pull down my next story from Jira. Like I want to invoke my conductor and say, pull down my next story from Jira. Solution architect, analyze it, come up with a plan for how we're going to implement it. Security agent, review what the SA says, make sure that we're following best practices, and just getting the best out of all of the worlds and having each of them more focused on the specific thing that they're supposed to do. So I think that's my goal here. Another time we'll go into my struggles with the conductor/orchestrator. You'll also see here just a couple of the things that I have for the security agent. We have, this is the one that I wanted to double click on, the well-architected security MCP server, another one there in AWS Labs. I really like that one. And then the CDK NAG MCP. So those are the only 2 that I have in there, with the personality definition being as strong and thorough as it is. You get good stuff out of him just with that little bit too. So
Very cool.
Let's see. So I think we're down to like 5 minutes in the call now. So I went through most of what I wanted to. I always like dive a little bit too deep into something and I go down tangents. But hopefully you guys learned something. For the audience, let me know. Did you learn something? Are you going to try to use agents in your day-to-day work, whether that's in QDev or whatever you're using? This example, to answer Sylvester's question, this example used only Q CLI agents. So I didn't have to do any development at all, just write that personality file and config file. I didn't have to actually write any code for this.
Very cool.
Yusra, what did you learn? What are you going to do?
This is very cool. I learned a lot. I think the context usage was very cool just to see it, because I'm often thinking, are you really have you factored in what I've said already from the prompt conversation? And I'm constantly reminding QCLI when I'm working with QCLI. I'm like, please consider what we've talked about so far. So having that, if I notice the context usage is dropping, then I can prompt it to do so. If I don't, then it saves me some tokens and I don't need to remind it to look at that context, or just write it once in that personality file and then not have to write it again. So that's pretty cool. And I wonder, so I've used Q Developer in the IDE, and I know Q Developer has these different agents, test agent, dev agent, and sometimes we'll get a lot of questions around how do we use this particular security vulnerability scanning tool. So seeing how you can create so the last agent, for example, that you showed us, you can create a custom agent for security vulnerability scanning. Yeah. That is relevant to your use case and your requirements, and not a generic kind of agent where you have to add so much additional context to provide to make it relevant to you and your use case. So that's pretty cool. And I'm curious, those two, how do they compare? The IDE agents, the dev agent, security agent, to the QCLI custom agents? That's kind of giving the user the power to recreate those agents in their own, with their own relevance and their own context, which is pretty cool.
It's super cool. You can customize it to how you want to work, the tools that you want to work. Do you use SonarQube? Great. Like there's probably a SonarQube MCP that you could use and have as part of your security agent and integrate it into your CI/CD pipeline so that your SonarQube is happening within that GitHub action, as an example. Like all of those things you can set up with Q, and then just your SDLC, your whole SDLC is much stronger. So yeah. Oh, Itachi, I remember you from a couple of weeks ago. This is a thing I've been so excited about for so long, the custom agents. I'm glad that you joined back. I forgot the episode that you were on, but I definitely remember your username. So I'm glad you joined back. Cool. Well, awesome. We only have a minute left. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks for returning viewers. That is pretty cool that people are coming back to watch. Next week, we're going to be talking about agent core memory. So we'll have a couple specialists on next week, same time, same place. And so hope to see you again. I'll be hosting that one with a couple of guests. So
amazing. Very exciting.
Awesome.
Thanks everyone for joining, and thanks Candace. This has been great.
Yeah, thanks for being the host. We'll see you again soon.
Likewise. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.